Gonna be a big one. It's gonna change how everyone sees the entire brand moving forward. Really,
it might not even just be the brand. I mean, there's a lot of interesting conversation here. It might be good gaming in general. You know, we'll see.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's one of the arguments we could talk about today is if this succeeds and there's actually merit behind it, others will follow suit. Like, and
yeah,
competition might just not really be a thing anymore in terms of like exclusivity. I mean, it'd be competition in terms of trying to incentivize your platform in a certain way. But anyway, we'll talk about it. We are live, by the way.
Okay, my pen and paper out. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Right, so where's the? Oh, I was going to get on 10 minutes early and fucking just put like a load of PlayStation logos on the background instead of the normal green dots, but I didn't.
You should have done.
Yeah, I couldn't. I was late making lunch and
yeah. I've already got like 3 other podcast names lined up, ready to go if shit hits the fan next week. We're just going to adapt. We're just going to Bear Grylls it. We're just going to adapt and overcome. It's going to be fine.
Yeah, just gotta do it, man.
Maybe just like what Xbox is doing, eh? Well,
yeah.
Parallel processing going on there. That was good.
Fuck.
Mm.
Nice. Where's that mug from, man? Where's that Starbucks mug from?
It is. I think this is actually Amsterdam.
Yeah, we got that one too. Yeah, it's the light blue one. Yeah, yeah, we collect them. We got a Edinburgh one as well last time we went. It's quite nice, the Edinburgh one.
They're good shapes, and you can stack them.
Yeah, yeah, and they just make really good like coffee cups. Like if you just want like they're just like a good size and they're nice to drink out. They're comfy to hold as well. Sometimes I find, I don't know, because I've got like quite long spindly fingers, U2 deck, I find handles for mugs are really hit and miss for me. Like they're really uncomfortable.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
I don't really use handles though. I'm not a handle user. I'm a gripper.
Sometimes I just grab the mug. But.
I'm definitely a Dom tea drinker. Like I don't let the tea drink me. I fucking get in there.
You don't even drink it. You just fucking get your hand. You scoop it out with your hand.
Yeah, I'm gonna like a chokehold like in my fucking elbow.
Nice.
That's me. Yeah. Coffee drinking just to get by. Stack your mugs until they reach the sky.
Are you still a proper coffee snob these days?
Oh yeah. No, yeah.
Patting it down and talking to each individual bean before you grind it.
Each individual bean, that's it. I weigh it, got to get it right, and then I play around with the ratios, the coffee to water ratios.
Because you actually blend your beans now, don't you? You buy beans and then you blend them in your kitchen. Is that right? Or do you not do that?
I grind them.
Grind them. That's what I mean. I just couldn't think of the word.
I play around with the coarseness, of the grind.
But you just get whole beans, don't you?
Yeah. There's no other way to do it. If you pre-ground is for bitches. Pre-ground is for little tiny little bitches.
Wow, that's a lot of coffee drinkers you've just called bitches.
Well, because it's like you just don't know how coarse they're you couldn't know. You might as well roll a dice in my coffee. You might as well just lob a dice in my coffee.
You just don't know how coarse. Jesus, man, you've changed.
Come on. I haven't. It's been like this for a while. It's been a problem for a while now. It's been 90% of my personality for a long while now. And you might have thought Deck will loosen up on like disliking Costa. He hasn't.
Costa sucks.
I despise that. I despise that brand, and I'm glad everyone's catching on.
There
was a phase in my life where people looked at me weird when I was like, "Costa sucks."
It does.
No, you suck.
Nero's is the best out of the chain, but like the I'm convinced that Costa actually do like the worst flat white on the planet. Like it's like
it's not even the right size.
Yeah, it's so weak. It's so big. It's like a fucking latte. It's not a flat white at all.
Yeah, and I figured that out. I mean, I told you, like, because I interrogated a barista at Nero one time, and I was like, "What is that about?"
By the way,
I put a gun to his head, and I said, "Look, you tell me what's going on with your competitors over there." And they said it's because Costa only do one shot of coffee in their stuff, but Starbucks and Nero do too. And they don't get the measurements right. They don't like you ask for a flat white at Costa, and they're like vanilla milkshake with sprinkles. I'm like, nope, flat white, and they're like.
Comes in one of those big fucking sippy cups.
Maca cappuccino?
The enormous
yeah. Like,
here's your flat white, sir.
I'm like looking around, like checking, am I in the right place?
Yeah. They're like, he wants a flat white. That just means he doesn't want it carbonated.
Yeah.
He wants it flat.
Yeah. I turn around and they've just poured the drink onto the counter and they're just smacking it to try and flatten the
guy with like a rolling pin. Just going over the fucking liquid.
Fucking Costa, man.
God.
Don't trust me anything.
We should probably talk about games soon.
Yeah, sure, that's fine. I mean, it's not even going to be the right type of games. That's the worst thing. So this is going to be a very controversial episode.
Yeah, it will be.
Pretty sure we start most episodes with that statement. Do we not?
Maybe. Well, recently, I mean, that probably is the case. Yeah. All right, let's do it. Let's get jingling. Let's crack on. Welcome everyone to episode 129 of the Quick Routine Podcast. It's a historic day. It's a historic day. It's crazy. If you're not, we're going to cover a bit of the history of what's happened in the last few weeks, but I'm sure you're all caught up if you listen to this podcast anyway. But we're kind of right on the cusp of what seems to be a big change in strategy for the Xbox platform. Might be good, might be bad, might be both, might just be a bit of a change, but it fosters a lot of very interesting conversation, not just about Xbox as a platform, but as the industry, particularly in the console market. But I'm very interested to see how this all goes. So we're going to kick off the episode as usual, and then we'll pivot into that sort of conversation. And we'll have a bit of a conversation about what we've been playing. It's not going to make you happy if you're here to talk about Xbox. I'll tell you that right now. So if you're listening after we've recorded, after we've gone live, you can skip to the next timestamp if you're really not interested. But we're going to start with what we've been playing. I guess if we just, does anybody else have any other shout outs other than Helldivers 2?
I've been playing a few little small games with the Steam Next Fest.
What is that? I don't know what that means, Ken.
The Next Fest, you not heard of that?
We're console plebs. You're going to have to explain that to us.
So essentially every year, Steam will do like a big indie showcase. They'll show a bunch of new indies kind of in development and they'll basically release hundreds of demos that you can play. That's cool. Such as been bounced around with loads of really different, really fucking cool indie games.
Any standouts?
Yeah, so being a kid, I used to be a huge skateboarding. I used to love Tony Hawk and skate games like that.
Me too, man.
So in the you love the sound of this then. So there's a game called Hellskate. It's essentially a hack and slash roguelike Tony Hawk skating game.
Oh.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so you'll get different clothes and different parts of your skateboard that give you different abilities. So for example, if you do a pop shove it, you can make a grind rail that you can then grind on. And then if you do a certain type of grind, you might fire a missile at nearby enemies and stuff like that.
That's neat.
So really, really cool idea. Really cool art design. Similar to Rollerdrome, that kind of kind of art style. So that's really, really good fun. Had a good time with that. And another one that is really, really cool was a game called Diceomancer. And it's like a deck building. Again, another roguelike kind of thing going on. And
I've heard of this.
It's like a first person, you're holding the cards in front of you. And there'll be a duck or some shit, and you'll just spend your mana and attack it. Done, sorted. But then there's a mechanic where you can, what do they call it? But basically, you can roll a dice, and any number that you see on the screen, you can change.
Okay.
So be that the amount of mana you have, the amount of HP you have, the amount of HP the enemy has, the amount of it's weird. You can just pick anything on the screen and change the number.
Okay.
That's a really, really cool idea. So I played that for a little bit. That was good fun. And and Darkest Dungeon 2, because I wanted to get back into that.
I haven't played the second yet,
It's only on PC. That's why I wanted to play it as soon as I picked this up. So I picked it up, and it's brilliant. The art style is stunning. The voice acting is unbelievable. I loved. I don't know if you remember the narrator in the first game, but it's the same thing as that. He's awesome. So that's really good fun, and it's not forgiving in the slightest.
I was going to say, is it still bone crunchingly hard?
Yeah, it's
That's his thing.
Yeah, so that's a really, really, really cool game. So I've just been little bits of play.
Do you think you'll
as well.
convert any of these to purchases? I'm assuming these are just demos you played, or like.
I'm very tempted by Hell's Gate. That comes out, I think, literally tomorrow.
Oh, okay. So they're demos of games that haven't necessarily even released, not just shedding light on ones that. Oh, okay, cool. I like that.
I think it comes out tomorrow. But yeah, so that's been really good fun little week dabbling in that. Not really done that before.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, and then of course we've all been jumping onto a bit of Helldivers.
We'll do a little segment for that after, because I'm sure we'll have a lot to say there. Tim, is there anything else? Is there anything else other than Helldivers that you've been playing this week?
Final Fantasy remake. I've been playing the 7 remake. So just try to get through that for the release of Rebirth at the end of the month. I am like 20 hours in, I think, on this playthrough, and yeah, it's great. You know, I've played it a couple times before, and yeah, having a really good time with it. But I don't know how much longer I've got. I think it's probably about another like 10 hours or so. I think I'm probably like 2/3 the way through it. So I've got the day off tomorrow, so I'm hoping I could potentially wrap that up tomorrow if I'm quick. But having a good time with that. So yeah, so basically just complete Sony for me this week. I really haven't booted up my Xbox at all.
Oh man.
Uh-oh.
You're in trouble. I found out as well that actually, because we linked our PlayStations now, I think I can play Final Fantasy because it's on PS Plus. 7 Remake is on PS Plus.
And did you have to buy PlayStation Plus to play online with us as well? That's quite neat actually, how you just cheese my subscription as well.
Same happens with Xbox as well, doesn't it?
I didn't even know that was a thing on Xbox. I still thought that you had to get gold or whatever the hell it's called.
You can mooch Game Pass, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no such thing as gold anymore. Game Pass Core, Game Pass Console, Game Pass Ultimate.
Yeah. I forgot I just forgot what it was called. Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that it works like that on both platforms. So cool.
Yeah. Rad. I don't think there's anything else. I finished God of War Valhalla, which you started as well, didn't you, Ken?
Literally this morning. Like I didn't. Yeah, I've played it for about half hour, 40 minutes.
Yeah. Oh my god! So I guess I'm fucking Sony squad as well today. Oh dear, what's happening?
We've all only been playing, apart from Caden, who's done some Steam stuff. We've all only.
Thank God for Caden.
Basically playing PlayStation stuff.
Yeah, and that was great. You know, I spoke a bit about it last week. I finished it. I think it was maybe somewhere between 10 and 15 hours long. Nice compact roguelike, but not like super short. I've never played any of the old God of Wars, but it was definitely a lot of exploration of that and sort of putting a bow in Kratos' character. But it really gave the combat a chance to shine. The roguelike elements were. It was a lot of reuse from the base game, but just really smartly done. There was like a little bit too much repetition here and there, but only a little bit. Overall, it was like a really solid 9 out of 10 experience. It was really a good time. And I said last week, I think the combat God of War is probably the best third-person melee action that I think is out there. I think it's that good. And it's one of the things that bummed me out about the base game is that a lot of the stuff was similar to the first game, and then you only really get the spear of Draupnir like 60% through the game, maybe even a bit further. So I thought it was a bit of a bummer. Like the combat felt a bit samey, but in this you could kind of, the way it works is you kind of get to, well, you start with all of them and you can just choose which ones to specialize in. So I spent most of my time with the spear, which felt very refreshing. So yeah, really good time. I would definitely recommend it. And it was obviously it was free as well, wasn't it? So it was really great that came in at free. Right, so that's all of that. I guess it's been the biggest release of this week, right? I mean, PlayStation have had a couple of releases in the last few weeks. There was that Silent Hill like prequel thing, wasn't there? Did you know what I'm talking about? That came out.
Yeah, the free
one.
Yeah,
and it was awful.
But
like it's on like a 40 on Metacritic or something at the moment. I haven't really heard much about it, but I was like, because I don't know anything about Silent Hill, but I saw, there was a shadow drop. This must be a big deal, and I haven't seen anybody talk about it. And then I checked the critic scores, and it's like in the 50s or 40s. But anyway, but Foam Stars came out.
Oh, I didn't know that came out.
It's out, mate. That was PS Plus day one. That was.
Oh, neat.
Wow.
that's in the 60s as well. I think maybe 50s.
Oh, ooh.
Yeah,
I thought that
I'll
game
just
would
check.
at least hit 7s, sort of just be an okay sort of experience, bit copy pasta from Splatoon, but I don't think it'd do badly by like hitting 50s and like low 60s. That's actually quite a surprise to me.
Let me double check to make sure I'm not 65.
Yeah, 65. Yeah, no, I mean it's pretty bad. Yeah, I was expecting it to hit 70s, that sort of vibe. Okay.
Yeah. And then obviously the big boy, Helldivers 2, which I think has taken a lot of people who maybe aren't core PlayStation fans, has taken the rest of us, or like I can only speak for myself, has taken me really by surprise, in how much it's caught on. The Steam numbers are doing really well. It was a bit buggy to start with, a lot of crashes, but I think it's climbed up to sort of about 70%, maybe 75 at the moment.
Interesting
doing good in
fact, I
reviews.
heard it's actually the highest player count of a PlayStation game that's ever released on Steam. Like it overtook like God of War and stuff like that.
It's the first day one they've ever done. That's why.
Oh, I guess so. Yeah, because God of War came late.
The rest come years later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still though, it's nice to see it, obviously come in hot and actually have like a pretty large player base right at the bat. I find it really weird that they're really taking their time with reviews for this game. Review copies not sent out in advance. It still doesn't have an open critic, and it's been out for it's been out for 3 days, and it still doesn't have an open critic.
I read that they didn't release any review copies.
Yeah,
so
but
I was thinking, it's gonna suck.
I still feel that even if they don't do that, and people just like buy it and just the reviewers just get it on release day, they still haven't reviewed it in 3 days. Like, I feel like that's really slow.
Because it's been the weekend, I guess, but I don't know.
Because I kept checking it because I was just like, I want it. I was like, this looks like a vibe, but like, let's see what the numbers like. And I'm like, it still doesn't have reviews. What the fuck's going on?
It is a bit curious because I've seen other games like this come out before, and reviews are up in 24 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Something like 4-player co-op games like Back 4 Blood, or example. And it's a bit interesting. Like, I don't know if reviewers held off because there was day one issues, but a lot of games don't usually get that sort of
treatment.
Yeah, that sort of special treatment, and it is a bit suspicious. Maybe suspicious isn't the right word, but it is definitely interesting the way this came together, because of course it was only a couple months ago where we had lots of outlets publicly annoyed about not receiving review codes for Starfield. Metro, for example, wouldn't shut the fuck up about it. Metro kept going on about it. They're like, they haven't sent us a review code. Unbelievable, unethical. And then in their review in progress, they were like, yeah, game sucks. It's what they get for not sending us a code, something to that effect. It was like, oh my god. So yeah, I mean, I'm with you. It does surprise me that there aren't more reviews up yet. So all we have to go by is user scores on Steam.
Yeah, but I think generally speaking,
decent.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the gameplay kind of speaks for itself. I think if you're on the fence about it, just like I just watched a couple of videos on it just to get a vibe. See how it played 4-player co-op in like a group of friends and stuff like that. I didn't want to spoil myself too much, but like I just thought like this just looks like a vibe. Like even if the game like comes out to an open critic of 70, I think it just appeals to that sort of game that we quite like to play, where you can kind of just fuck around. I mean, like we're not playing obviously on the most hardest difficulty where it will probably get quite tactical and stuff like that, but like we're playing on hard enough that you can still mess around and take it kind of seriously at the same time, but you're still team killing and fucking laughing half the time and stuff like that.
Not me.
No, Dex just
you guys maybe
team killing. Yeah, Dex he's a pacifist. He doesn't even shoot the aliens.
I try and talk them out of it. Look, I can understand you feeling angry. Like, we've invaded your planet.
But yeah, no, it's a great time. Yeah, it'd be quite interesting to see. I think based on what I'm experiencing and what I can tell like the users reviewing it as, it's probably going to sell as like a high 70s, low 80s. I think probably something around that sort of area. I think
depends what kind of end game looks like, I suppose. Like once you've kind of started leveling up a bit more, gone to the later stage of
how much is there? Yeah.
Yeah.
But then also it's a £35 game at the same time, so like they kind of got that going for it too, where like if there's not like an insane amount, I don't think people can really just turn on them and just be like, where the fuck's everything? It's just like, well, you know, you still given us a pretty healthy amount of content here, and you haven't priced it a full price game. You know, I think that was really smart the way they did that, because it gets people in the gates really quick as well, because they're just like, it looks like fun, and I don't have to spend £70, so nice. Yeah,
we've had 2 big games this year do that, haven't there? Power World was another one that was a similar pricing structure.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah,
and that obviously exploded. You know, I think it's quite clear a lot of publishers are exploring this kind of mid-tier price, which I've been going on about for years. So I'm glad, I'm glad that that's finally happening. But yeah, I'm with you, Tim. Like this feels like a solid like 8 to me. Like this is a good time so far. So let's just have a bit of a moment, like, you know. And you know what, guys? It's just nice, isn't it? We haven't played a game together for a long time. It's just nice to like have something new that we can play together. So it's got that going for it as well. Although we did have to faff around, didn't we, in trying to get, because this is I know we're an Xbox podcast and whatever, but me and Tim have spoken about this over the years that we've been doing the show. We've always said, like, if there was like a solid co-op or multiplayer game on PlayStation, we would play it there as well. It's just they haven't historically done that. They've just focused on single player games, and then big surprise, you know, Helldivers 2 comes out, you know, and it's looking good, fairly polished. You know, they've done patches on day one where, you know, we can't speak, well, Caden can speak for PC, but and it was enough to kind of get us to dip in, you know. So I think I hope PlayStation are looking. That's all, because obviously they cancelled Factions recently, and it made me groan a bit. Like, oh god, they're gonna keep their toes out of multiplayer now, still, aren't they? And it's like, well, I think actually they would do really well. Like, you know, PlayStation are known for their quality assurance and their polish. You know, they're really good at that, and production value. So I'd like to see them do that. I think it would give Xbox and even Switch a kick up their ass to compete with those games as well. So yeah, I'll throw it back to you guys. So we've played like what, a couple nights now, haven't we, since it came out. Caden, if I throw it to you, what are your thoughts so far on Helldivers 2?
I mean, yeah, I was interested in it before we even picked it up. I thought it was kind of a perfect us kind of game. I mean, yeah, Tim kind of, and you kind of mentioned what the draw of it is. It isn't a masterpiece. You know what I mean? It's not like a you know what you're getting into, which is, and then that's kind of it, which is kind of brain dead fun with friends, and then you make your own stories, I suppose, don't we? I mean, we've already got loads that we could spend hours talking about now. So that's kind of what the draw is for me personally, more so than the actual like
100%. I mean, I've heard people say like the solo experience isn't bad in this game, but it's definitely not a game I would boot up solo. It's definitely a game I think I would only play when you guys we're all messaging, like, yeah, we're actually around for a few hours, sort of thing. Because yeah, that's where the most fun happens, because it's just, I mean, I feel like a lot of games need to do this when they make like their sort of multiplayer and co-op games and stuff like that. I think it's really fun I think friendly fire is fucking awesome. Like, I really do. It could be so annoying, but I do think it's so fun.
He admits it.
It creates
he loves me.
It creates so many.
My deck from fucking orbit. As much as I hated that was so funny.
Yeah, it's rage-inducing, but I couldn't imagine the game without it. You know, like it's so good, and it creates so many funny moments. Like when, I don't know, you just like toss down your sentry gun, and then you're just running to try to pick up samples, and your own sentry gun blows you through the side of the head, just trying to shoot like an alien. It's shit like that that's like hilarious. Yeah, and it's just a great time. I love it.
Yeah, and like I will say, it's I'm a big fan of this genre of games, and they've kind of gone out of fashion in the last few years, because the ones that seem to launch always kind of launch at the same level of quality, in that they've either played it really safe and executed it really well, like Back 4 Blood, or or it doesn't come together, or it launches buggy. You know, Darktide is what I was looking forward to for ages since it was revealed in like 2020.
Such a
and
shame,
then it just didn't come together. It got delayed on Xbox, and I've heard it's kind of in a better place now, but it's kind of missed its moment. I mean, I'm sure maybe I'll give it a go one day because it still looks really good. You know, I like these 4-player games, but as far as that genre goes, I think this is one of the better ones. To be honest with you, you know, I think the polish is really good. Like, it looks really nice. It makes nice use of the DualSense controller as well.
Yeah,
there's nice levels of progression, and most importantly, the core gameplay is really nice. The shooting feels great. The movement feels great. I find myself wrestling with the controls a bit sometimes, but it's hard to pass that from me just not being familiar with.
I think some of
the
that's on
DualSense and moving out my
purpose
battles
as well. Like they create like the whole like but well, I know that's not necessarily the control scheme, but like the button inputs, the reloading mechanics and all that, I think that sort of jank and that sort of awkwardness is designed to make you panic in these situations and make hilarious deaths and stuff like that. Yeah, but I mean, I agree.
Yeah, I get it.
It's stuff like sometimes like when you do a dive and you've like ragdolled or like you've dodged a move and then your character like stays prone for like a few seconds. You're like spamming the stick, like, get up, what's going on? And it's just like there's some weird jank that you have to fight with sometimes with those sort of things. And you're like, but
the actual core like gameplay loop, it feels really good. You know, they got the shooting, the noise right. You know, you can go down sights as well, which is a really nice little addition. There seems to be a lot of variety in weapons, you know, stuff like that. It just the actual like meat and bones of the game is really, really solid as far as this genre goes. So it's really impressive. You know, I don't really know much about the studio. I think it's Arrowhead. Is that right?
I don't know.
Do you guys know?
Nope, not Scooby.
I don't know if it's the same team that did the first Helldivers, but I get the feeling it might be. Yeah, Arrowhead.
Yeah, Arrowhead, published off Sony.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, they did the first one. Yeah, so you know, it's a hats off to them. Really, they've done well, and I think the last time I checked on Steam, it's climbed over 100K now, concurrent users. So yeah, I think it's really good. I do have like a couple of complaints, which is why I said I think the game is kind of a solid A. I think there are times where the readability of what's going on the screen is quite bad. Sometimes I'm never really too sure, and there's a bit of difficulty with movement and the terrain, and then wrestling with the controls. And there are times where it can get a bit frustrating. You're not really sure what happened. All you know is that you're in bits over the screen. I'm not sure about like the replayability either. Like, the progression systems feel really good, like getting all of the unlocks and stuff, that feels great because that's all fun and you can see them there, and you know, you can design strategy around that. But it's like, am I just shooting bugs and doing the occasional task? It feels good, like, it feels good, but I'm wondering, it's like, how's this gonna go? Robots, yeah, I mean, maybe that is it, you know, maybe that will elevate it after the 50-hour mark to like, oh, this actually feels fresh enough to that, you know, that it keeps going. But it's not an issue right now. Like I said, the core gameplay is strong enough that it will carry you to, I think, easy 20, 30, 40 hours. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel mostly about it. But I think it's really good. I'm really pleasantly surprised, to be honest.
Yeah. Do you guys find do you wish there was a jump button sometimes? I know there's a dive button, but when it comes to like mantling things, like sometimes I go near something.
If you hold A, you can climb up stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because
hold.
Because sometimes I do that and it doesn't, and then sometimes it does, and I'm like, well, what can I mantle? What can't I? I wish there was just like a free jump button that I could use, and then I could scale a rock, and then think I can make that with a dive. You know, just create the player can judge that distance for themselves, sort of thing.
I want to get the jump pack. Like you said, you see something, oh, I can jump that or not.
Yeah. But yeah, little things like that are what sort of drag it down a little bit, but yeah, it's just such a good time. Yeah, I couldn't recommend it more, to be honest. If you got a group of friends, yeah, I think it's an absolute blast.
I also like that Caden said hold A there and not hold X. He's team green to his blood, isn't he?
I'm playing it on my Xbox controller. Don't you worry, guys. I'm actually
like Dex said though, you are missing out because the DualShock like things are pretty cool. Like with the triggers, like when you're firing, like there's some actual like feedback. It's hard to pull, and like the explosions and stuff like that from all the orbital stuff like feel really cool with the controller. Like it's quite nice actually.
Other than the fact that the controller doesn't fucking charge when you want it to.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
and it runs out every 3 hours, even if you can charge it.
Yeah, we were playing last night. We played, what was it, like 3.5 hours? And by the end of our session, it was telling me your controller's low on battery. I mean,
they genuinely have like a 3 to 4 hour.
Man.
Like, I don't think that's an exaggeration. Like, we have obviously a PlayStation upstairs as well. We have to rotate the 2 controllers constantly. So every like 4 hours, it's depleted.
And you can't pair them wirelessly. You have to fucking plug them in.
Oh yeah, you do. Yeah, that's true.
Shit annoys me. Anyway,
that's right. Well, we're going to be playing Xbox forever, aren't we? So
yes, true.
That's it. So there's no biggie, is it really?
We're fine.
But of course, when Xbox make their version of the DualSense and its battery life is only like 3 hours, that will be fine. That's fine then. But for now, it's really annoying. The blue version is, really stupid.
Agreed.
Cool. Right. Any other thoughts on that, or shall we get onto the into the uncertain territory of the Xbox console?
Oh God, do we have?
All good. Yeah, we have to. Right, ladies and gentlemen, is it joever or oh no, hang on, fucking hold that thought. I'm going to come back to this, and then I'll come back to that really funny meme in just a moment. Honorable mentions for the week. Halo Season 2 happened. Woohoo! That's out now. It's actually all right. Turns out
people love it. That's
actually right. It's doing it's on 94% Rotten Tomatoes. Audience score is 79.
It's good.
Okay.
Have you seen it?
Okay, you actually done it, haven't you? I haven't, because they've released the first 2 episodes and then they're doing each episode weekly. But I've been taking in the chatter, looking at some of the marketing material and everything, and they've replaced I think the writer or maybe the director from the first season. And from what I've heard, it's kind of been a bit of a soft reboot after the first season.
Yes.
There's a Halo in it, always getting soft rebooted. So. But yeah, I think I probably will watch this. I think it looks pretty good actually. If you like, in terms of actually being a decent Halo show and a reasonably good maybe sci-fi series straight up, like sci-fi military, I think it actually looks like it's going to be kind of good. Although not without its blemishes. So I hear, there's still some weird stuff because they're really terrified to use the content from the books and the actual games. So
apparently they're terrified to use Master Chief's helmet.
They are, yeah.
He never has
hate
the fucking helmet. You what?
Literally on the poster of the season, it's him without his helmet on. Again.
Yeah, I don't understand it. It's like that's like the most iconic thing about the suit is the helmet. Make him wear the helmet. What's going on there?
They've paid a lot of money for Pablo Schreiber, so they need to show Pablo Schreiber's face.
Mandalorian paid a lot of money for Pedro Pascal, but
he was nobody before that. He wasn't a guy before that. And the worst part about it is like they've done a lot of like the art that they've done for season 2. Like it goes pretty hard, and like if he was just wearing his helmet, everyone would be like, yeah, like it would actually resound with the core audience. But it's just like this one blemish on it that kind of makes it not feel as Halo-y. So I mean, I totally get it. But man, I don't know did you guys maybe spoiler territory, because I feel like this is a moment that I have to inform you about. Do you guys know what happens in season 1?
No, I don't want.
No,
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you right now.
I might. If you do it, I might just skip season 1 anyway and just start.
I think you probably should.
Yeah.
I mean, it was okay.
I know
but sex. It was just kind of weird. He does have sex. He does master cheeks.
He has a bum. Yeah,
slap them cheeks. He does. Yep. Jimmy rings. At the end of season 1, which I think they just retcon. He dies. Chief dies.
Oh.
Okay. Well, they must have retconned it. How can there be a season 2?
He dies, and then Cortana controls his lifeless corpse to like keep fighting. So he's dead, but she's just pulling the strings.
That's so lame.
And he's like a zombie. He's like an AI zombie. And that was just at the end of season 1. It was so bizarre. It was so bizarre. And then everyone was like, is this their way of pivoting into like a chief with his helmet on all the time that doesn't talk? Doesn't really say anything because he's dead. He's just a corpse in a suit.
Yeah.
I don't know,
You're smelling a bit these days, Chief. Fucking, you stink, man. There's flies all around him. They're like, yeah, it's the pestilence armor effect from Halo Reach. It's canon.
Yes, that's it. It's a throwback for the fans, this one.
God. So what? Okay, so yeah, I'm imagining they wreck on that, right? With like the whole news director, or writer, or whatever.
I assume so. Yeah, it's Chief, but it's Pablo Schreiber as Chief, and he's still a bit talky, and you still see his face a bit too much. But it seems like there's actually some good stuff in there, and like even in the season 1, the combo was actually quite good. Like the choreography in the fights was actually kind of good, and like seeing the speed of the Spartans and the strength, that was ass. I don't know. I hope they stop doing that, but yeah, well, it seems like this has been a bit of a hit, to be honest. It's obviously not a Last of Us level critical success, but this is good enough where this is respectable. And this is the first, hopefully, of quite a few like transmedia efforts that Xbox are making. Lest we forget, Gears of War is still happening, which we can only hope Batista takes up the role as Marcus. We can only hope.
Pretty sick, yeah.
There's a Grounded TV show coming.
Still unsure about that one, but we'll see. I don't know. It doesn't
animated or live action.
Yeah, because live action doesn't make sense to me, but like animated would.
I don't know.
Animated would make sense more.
Yeah, live action would be weird to me, and I don't want to see a giant spider.
Okay, that's
all
cool.
right. Well, I'll let it slide. I'll let it slide this time, Microsoft.
Good, thank you. Because if you didn't get Tim's pass, it would have been rough out here.
Yeah.
And then of course there's Fallout happening as well,
which looks good. That trailer made it look really cool. I'm actually excited for that. Yeah. Where did you say that was?
Yeah, I think it's March.
So that soon. God. For whatever reason, I didn't think that was this year. But yeah, no, yeah, you're right. Yeah, that looked really good, man. Like that trailer looks kind of hype. Like I'm definitely going to tune in for that. Is that going to be Paramount as well, or is that?
No, I think it's. I want to say it's Amazon's what I've got in my head. Yeah, Amazon.
Okay. Yeah.
There you go.
No, yeah, that one's on my list. That's good.
Let's go, Walton Goggins. Love that guy.
See.
Okay. All right. What are we in time? Anybody in chat? Nope. All right. Is it joever or are we barrack? Welcome to the end of Xbox. Maybe. Perhaps. It's up for debate, really. Is it the end of Xbox or is it not? To catch you up, everybody, if you haven't been paying attention, you don't know what's going on, you're new here. There is a big talk about Xbox. There's been rumors for a couple of weeks now about Xbox putting their games multi-platform. And by their games, I mean their studios that they own, that they've either bought or built up over time, putting their games on other consoles. They've been putting their games on the Xbox console, the family of Xbox consoles, and PC, whether that's Steam or the Windows launcher, etc., for a while now. And you can access these games through other, like this kind of upcoming swell of handheld PCs, like the Steam Deck and the Asus ROG. You can get Game Pass on them as well. So you can play the games there. But the rumors have been that these games are going to go to other consoles. Why is this a problem, you may ask? Well, consoles have exclusives. They always have done. It's been part of the reason you buy a console because it is a big game and it only releases on PS5. Spider-Man would be a good example. Maybe on Xbox, it may have been Halo Infinite. It may have been Starfield. Whatever it is, it's part of the purchasing decision, you could argue. With these games going to other consoles, the concern is the other providers, the other manufacturers, PlayStation and Switch, will not ease up on their exclusivity strategy. So Xbox will be effectively giving their games away to other consoles, meaning there's less value in the Xbox console box, but more value on the other consoles. They will get more money from this. Undeniably, they will get more money from this because more people will buy their games everywhere. The concern is, will console adoption slow down to such a point where it enters a death cycle, death spiral, where less people buy Xbox consoles, third parties stop supporting Xbox, and that makes less adoption, less purchases of the console, until eventually Xbox say, we're pulling the plug on this, it's not good anymore. We're a publisher now, just like Sega is now, or just like Ubisoft or EA's are. We're just going to publish everywhere now. That's the concern. And then with that, with no Xbox support anymore, will we still be able to access the games, the library that we've accumulated over the last decade or two in perpetuity? That is the concern. That's the fear. We're getting an update on this. Phil Spencer, I don't know if you guys saw after we discussed this a bit last week.
Yeah.
Phil Spencer took to Twitter and said, "We're listening and we hear you. We've been planning a business update event for next week where we look forward to sharing more details about our vision for the future of Xbox. Stay tuned." Because shit was spiraling out of control because Xbox Era shared their source apparently that Starfield was going to PS5, and then someone else tuned in and said Indiana Jones is going to PS5. And somebody else tuned in, and I think it was Grub, who said Gears of War has been in consideration as well. Like, what are we doing here? And Halo, is another consideration or possibility, and nobody knows really. The one that seems like it is happening is Hi-Fi Rush. So there's this kind of continuum of are some going, are all going, are none going? And so I guess before I take this any further, I kind of just wanted to throw it to you guys if you had any thoughts at this point. We're right on the cusp of this possibly happening, and is there fear here? Do you not care? Is this good? Is this bad? I'm interested to hear how the squad feels.
You can go first, you want, Caden, or shall I?
I probably am not that opinionated on this, so I don't know if maybe you are, and then I'll do the opposite side of it, or
yeah, sure, yeah. There is a fear for me. I kind of agree with the fact that if they do it to such a large extent and they bring over more games and, your Starfields, your Gears, all that kind of stuff, your real pillar IPs that have been with Xbox for such a long time, I feel like there is going to be a bit of a fear there for me that eventually down the road, whether it's 5 years from now, 10 years from now, the hardware will start to get phased out and they will just not use it. That's just their end goal. They're probably talking about that right now. They're probably putting like a life cycle on it right now. I wouldn't be surprised. And yeah, it makes me think that one, I have such a large digital library right now that's worth, I don't even want to calculate how much it's fucking worth. I've spent so much money over the course of the years. Also, do I want to just continue adding to that when I feel like the hardware's days are numbered, right? Or do I just jump ship now? Do I just move to PC now or something like that? And PC will probably salvage somewhat percentage of my game library, and then maybe they do a similar thing to what they were doing when they were doing all the backwards compat stuff, where they're just like, we're dedicated to, over the time period we will bring all the games to PC eventually, sort of thing. And it's just, they'll be porting them all over. So eventually my digital library will be complete on PC in 10 years time. It just gives me that fear of why should I stay in a boat that potentially has a few holes in it already and is filling with water, sort of thing. Why would I continue to tap my card away and spend £70 on digital games for Xbox? That's my fear. Yeah.
Does that make sense to you, Caden? Because surely you'd be under threat as well.
Well, yeah, probably more than all of us here.
That's so true. All those skins, mate. Go on.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm fearful. I'm actually quite excited because they're not going to do something stupid. Why would you do something? What's the point?
I don't know. It is Microsoft, man.
Xbox have done some stupid shit in the past, man.
It's not the plan, is it? So they're going to do something big, and I don't know. Yeah, well, obviously nobody knows what it is yet. It is going to be a big deal, no matter what it is, I think. And as someone who is more than happy playing on different consoles or whatever, different infrastructures, then I am excited to see what they are doing personally. But a thing about in regards to the library, that's a good idea actually, in regards to kind of the gradual update of your library. I'm not quite sure how they do it, but that's certainly something that would be.
Yeah, I'd like to think that is something they probably would do, right? Like if they were literally like, we're stopping hardware, so obviously our main platform is PC. I feel like they've done it in the past with backwards compat. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if they're just like, we're committed to bringing that whole Xbox ecosystem of games. It's going to take time, but we're going to be shifting it over. But then that's such a commitment as well, like of cost.
If they are ending hardware, they're not gonna come up next week and, all right, boys, consoles are done for. They're not going to do that. It'll be a very, like you said, a very gradual, like.
And also, what does that mean for Xbox? Like, if they don't do that with your digital library, because you can only access these because it's an online. You have to be online to access your digital library. So, what does that mean in terms of if eventually they just stop with Xbox? Could you even access your digital library 20 years from now?
Part of the fear, yeah.
It's part of the fear. Because it's all online. You have to be online to do it. So, I didn't even think about that until now.
Not online nowadays.
Yeah, but if they stop the servers and stuff like that, there's no console servers or anything like that. Like there's no Xbox Live anymore. Then are your games online? Can you access? How are they going to work around that?
That's a 10+ year.
It's tomorrow, mate. That's next week.
Yeah,
that's what they're announcing.
You just see snaps half the Xboxes out of the universe.
Fucking Thanos, yeah. God.
Yeah, so I don't think that's an issue for us to worry about, at least right now.
I don't necessarily think it's an imminent problem in terms of hardware disappearing. I do think that any blunders in messaging here could really damage adoption. Like, do you remember, like, I just think about times like how fervently the media covers like Xbox blunders. Like everybody knew about 2014, like, oh my god, or 2013 I should say, like, in that fuck up, and obviously the pricing didn't help either, because that was a real thing that people could see on shelves. Like, why would I pay £100 more? But like the message generally was like forced connect, more expensive, less powerful, and that was it. That was enough. The games didn't even come into the conversation because actually Xbox One's launch lineup, PlayStation didn't really have anything at launch.
Killzone,
it was only in the later years. Killzone, which didn't review particularly well. But so I don't think it's not an imminent thing, but it's worth us kind of continuing this thread on the hardware. Like, you're right. I don't think this is an imminent thing in terms of your hardware is just going to mysteriously stop working. Worst case scenario, support for the console could wind down. I don't think that's going to happen. We've seen reports from Jez Corden over at Windows Central that 2 more hardware projects have been greenlit, and in a recent what do they call it, town hall meeting at Xbox, Phil like reassured the team, we're not leaving hardware, by the way. So this was just internal, but it was somebody leaked it to somebody to report, and I think that actually came from IGN. So it doesn't seem like there are any internal plans to actually ditch hardware. I just wonder if they've, depending on what their strategy is, if they fully thought through. I mean, I assume they have. If they fully thought through the damage this could have reputationally to the console, because like you said, Tim, if people start catching wind of that and get the impression that they're going to wind down support on the system, people are just going to stop picking up the console. People are just going to stop buying into that ecosystem. Maybe they'll buy a la carte a thing as it pops up if it reviews really well. If Avowed comes out and Hellblade comes out, they might do that. But like the ecosystem just starts to dissipate. It just kind of falls apart, in my opinion. At least the console side of it. And who knows what those hardware projects are? There's been rumors that one of them is like a Switch like.
Yeah.
There's going to be a couple of SKUs that one of them's going to be your high-powered console like the Series X, but instead of a Series S, it's a dock. It's a handheld/dock situation. In which case, I think that's a really great idea, and maybe that serves to like stretch out again the ways into the ecosystem, rather than necessarily getting people worried that what they currently have is going away. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to call, but you just can't help but have that worry, right? And it's not going to be an imminent thing, but like my argument is, it's just like, why would I continue to invest into something which I feel does have a shelf life? And I'm just like, I might as well start investing and buying into a PC library, which I know is not going anywhere, or buy into a PlayStation library, which I know their home console is not going anywhere, or something like that. That's kind of where I see it. And sure, it's going to be a very long time, but you just can't help but have that feeling in the back of your head of just you putting money into something that just might not be a thing in 5-10 years time, especially if you know you plan on gaming as a hobby, you know, continuously. You know, it's one of my main hobbies, so I'm in it for the long haul. So, you know.
I think, you know, to tie it back into like this event, this business update event that we're supposed to be getting next week, and who knows how that happens, by the way. We don't know if it's going to be like a pre-recorded video or an interview or just a blog.
I hope it's a video. I hope they're kind of
I know
about it, and they're like, right, this is a big deal. I hope it's not a fucking tweet. Or,
one of 8. Yeah, fucking tweet.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That you're tying it into this event, that I think the most important thing that they need to make clear for like general audience is convince us that you're still committed to the hardware. I mean, like ultimately the thing is, I would understand it if they wanted to pull out of hardware. I would get it. It's a loss maker for them. Consoles are for everyone, but they're not doing well in the console space. I mean, it's okay. They're doing fine. It's just that their growth has kind of stalled. Like the audience they've had for the last 10 years is still the audience that they have now. They're not like reaching new people other than through PC and throughout those other avenues. So they just need to convince us that, we're still going to do this. We're going to occupy the console space because it's one way into the ecosystem, and that makes sense. And that's clear. And you know, if they then say a couple of games here and there where appropriate are going to go to other systems, but we're still going to give you great reasons to buy into the console, and they convince me of that, hunky dory, no biggie. Look, if it's a game that makes sense here and there, and that's your strategy for making extra costs, keeping monetization down, you know, because like, let's look over at the other aisle, right? Let's look at what everyone else is doing. Nintendo started their own service. They don't make AAA games. They are budget games in terms of development costs. Very rarely is their voice work, like in terms of like the engines used and everything. It's not expensive stuff. So that's how they keep costs down. PlayStation also have started a subscription service. Part of their strategy is to put stuff to PC a bit late. Maybe they'll start doing day and date and following Xbox's steps. Who knows? And they're churning out remakes, and they're getting their games up to 70 quid. Right. So part of their strategy for getting that extra, you know, revenue for their high production value games is that. And a lot of people are starting to get a bit fed up of this remake station already, you know. So it just depends on what, you know, pick your poison. You know, all these companies are looking for extra ways to monetize. And if Xbox's way is, there are older games that make sense to put on other consoles, that's fine. But if we're talking about like day one releases across all platforms, I have to start asking what we're doing here. Other than like very select cases, like maybe like an MMO, I could understand. I don't necessarily agree with it because I think Xbox and PC is enough, but I can understand it. And you know, if we're talking timed exclusivity on some titles, I can understand it. So it just depends. You know, there's a big continuum of things here, from full multi-platform to full exclusivity and everything else in between. And I'm curious to like throw this back to you guys. So like Caden, if I put it to you, what's like for someone who buys into a console, or like for you who still owns an Xbox console, like do you think, what's the thing that would work best in that middle ground? Because it's what everyone's thinking about. Like, are we talking timed exclusivity, or just start releasing things everywhere? Like for you, where does that land?
In regards to what? In regards to keeping my Xbox, or
like keeping your Xbox, and you know, maybe for the wider audience as well. Like, you know, what point, like where's the line in terms of the core audience going, nope, that's too much?
It depends how much we're leaning on Game Pass, I think, because I think Game Pass
is still a selling point.
Is a huge selling point for the Xbox console. I know it's got its PC kind of spin-off a little bit, but yeah, I think that's the primary kind of selling point. So it depends if they, because it sounds like that they're keeping in Game Pass console, right? As in, there's not many rumors in regards to Game Pass being anywhere else.
Yeah, well, and I don't think PlayStation or Switch would want Game Pass on their systems because it would soak up so much of their revenue, you know. So
that's a good point.
But let's assume for this topic, Game Pass is going to stay as it is.
Yeah,
like to you, could everything go multi-platform, and for you that would still be fine because you get stuff day one on Game Pass, and Game Pass is a really good service. Is that what?
Yeah, no, it is the kind of like the amount of times we're just kind of relaxing it, and we're like, and you see a big old announcement, you're like, oh, this comes out in 3 days, and I just get to play it. and that's it, done.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so that's a lovely kind of thing to just have on Xbox, just a continuous updating library. I like that
Definitely.
a lot. So in regards to like big releases going on other consoles day one, that is a break. That's a complete break. If that's the thing that happened, you know, Indiana Jones, for example, if that's just being launched into PlayStation, you know, if they're just getting it day one, then that is a loss. That's a big loss.
Even if you got it on Game Pass on Xbox, but you'd have to buy £70 on PlayStation. Because I'm curious, because I've spoken to a few people about this, and I just wonder if that's enough for most people. I
mean, yeah, I think for like big AAA games, you know, their first party games, yeah. I mean, that's okay. That's better. I mean, obviously they wouldn't release it for free on other consoles. That's kind of, but like, this is kind of what I'm excited to see, just to see what kind of how they are approaching these things. Because
it depends.
I'm just not.
Depends.
Unfortunately, I'm not passionate enough about like my, you know, my library and my kind of loyalty, I suppose. So
yeah. But there will come a point where, like, you know, say we get to next generation and this strategy is in full effect. You'll be fronted with the decision. You know, do I want to get an Xbox this time around? I've got a PC. Do I want to this time around? And if the pull isn't strong enough, you're probably going to say no.
Yeah,
you know,
especially now that I have the PC, it is looking a lot less attractive to keep hold of the Xbox, whereas PlayStation is still, it's quite. It knows what it is. You know what I mean? Like it's a game console.
For now,
it's games, and that's it. Whereas
Helldivers 2 being the first PC launch.
Yeah, it was the first one. But all Sony games come to PC just a lot later, right?
Yeah, this is the first day and date one, and I've been saying I'm not the only one, but a lot of people have been saying for a while that they're going to start going day and date as well. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, Tim, we're obviously in a bit of a different boat again. We don't have PCs. So the question here is like, where's the break point? You know, on the continuum of like games releasing on other platforms to not releasing at all, and then in the middle there's like some release to timed exclusive releases, and Game Pass is thrown in there. Like, to you, like, what's the break point? Where does your back snap, from Philly's words?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that there's just, to me, there's all this build up that we've been doing for so long, and all these fucking massive purchases of all these studios and everything, and it seems weird to then just not use that as an exclusivity weapon to be like, hey, come over and this is where you experience these games, unless they think that this whole time behind the scenes they've thought like, hell, we're not doing this to improve console sales because we're never going to win in that regard. We lost it, and PlayStation are just always going to be ahead in that regard. But they're buying all of these studios on the assumption that they'll just release everything multiplat, and they'll just get so much money from all these new games being released on everything. So, you know, you can kind of see it both ways, but it does really tick me off a little bit to think that you've been building so much to then just give it to everyone anyway. I'm sure that you're going to build incentives into your platform. Like Caden said, I think Games Pass holds a lot of weight into this, where it's just under a nice easy subscription. You don't have to drop 70 quid a title, you know, that sort of thing. I think for me it is the day in the day one releases across everything. I think wrapping up Games Pass and wrapping up, you have 1 to 2 years of this is the only platform you can play Indiana Jones. I think that's enough to still incentivize people to your brand. And then it can come to other places. You know, I'm not going to be that guy who's just like, no, I don't want PlayStation to ever experience Indiana Jones. You know, that's just, I don't necessarily have an issue with that, but I just want more incentives to be aligned with Xbox. Yeah, I think if they just released everything on the same day across all platforms, that would tick me off a little bit. especially for these new hyped projects which are coming out. Like, I mean, like if Hellblade 2 did that, and if Indiana Jones did that and all that, you can't help but feel a bit like, I'm sure that would cheese you off a little bit. It wouldn't just be me, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here?
Exactly.
Like, why have I bought this console?
Yeah.
Why have you made me believe that this was a? Because I mean, I think Game Pass is great, and it's a conversation we'll come into in a little bit about like the pros and cons exercise of buying a console and what that means. But I'm with you in terms of everything else. Like, I suppose it's quite frustrating as a core or a hardcore fan of Xbox, the platform, who has seen this happen for a while. We've been on Xbox and PC for a while, and we've known this to be the case. When Bethesda was acquired, Phil sat down and he said, this is about bringing great games to places where Game Pass are. And that made sense to me. The only wrinkle to that was Steam, which obviously Game Pass isn't on Steam, but it made sense because it wasn't an overlap with, in the same way, putting games on Xbox console, Switch console, and PlayStation console. Steam is its own thing, and they're trying to compete with it with the Windows Store, but they're having a hard time. Fine. But places where Game Pass are, that makes sense to me. If we're then putting games in places where Game Pass aren't, it's like, what are we doing here?
Mm-hmm.
And the Game Pass is a benefit. It's a great service. They've done a great job of growing up that, and they've been quite successful. Again, like, the growth has kind of stalled a bit. It doesn't seem to be going through to casual audiences. And Caden, I think you spoke on this maybe last month, where, like, speaking to people who just play casually, they don't know what Game Pass is. Like, and it's not their fault. Microsoft needs to do a better job of getting that market penetration. It's just not quite there. And I do wonder if they did have that mega hit, like, would that happen? Would the Game Pass message, travel with it? Let's say Indiana Jones is a 94 Metacritic at the end of this year. Would Game Pass carry with it? And that, because Starfield had a similar effect. Subscription spiked. But it is frustrating as a fan to watch them gather up all these studios, and then just as everything starts to hit, be like, it's going everywhere. Thanks for waiting, but you can play this anywhere. Just before this barrage of exclusive hits, 2023 was good, and it's looking to be better and better with each following year. And it's like we're right on the precipice, and it's like, now, sorry guys, you could have bought a PlayStation, and you're gonna get everything in the same way without Game Pass.
Yeah,
it's frustrating.
Yeah, and that's where I think they need that extra incentive, because I do think that gamers generally, like I said this a couple weeks back, they're quite impatient with these sort of things. Like, a lot of people, if they see a really cool game like Indiana Jones and they really want to play it, and they're just like, and they know it's 2 years before they get to play it on PlayStation, they'll probably still invest in the Xbox platform, at least in like the lesser one, like the Series S or the Series S fucking handheld thing that might be rumored to be coming out. They'll invest into that to play Indiana Jones before that 2 years and it hits PlayStation. So I think you can have an element of kind of, what's the expression? Having your cake and eating it too, or something like that. What's the expression?
That's the one.
It is. Yeah,
you
can have that a little bit if you were to
have your cake and sleep in it.
Yeah, have your cake and fucking look at it. You get to look at it. I think you can have a little bit of a win-win. I still think it's not going to go down great, but I think if you had a chunk of time where it was exclusive to the Xbox platform and accessible on Games Pass, and then it goes everywhere and you get all your revenue from putting it everywhere, I think you're in a little bit more favor from every party involved. A little bit, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. And I'd agree. Like, and I think there's an opportunity there to just set like an expectation. If they just said, most games that we make are going to go to as many platforms as we can get them to 2 years later, for example. But is that really what's going to happen? Like, we spoke about this idea of like of it being a PR, like a communication nightmare. Like, once one game goes, like once Hi-Fi Rush goes, like, if you aren't able to set like a clear and understandable standard to everyone, most casuals don't know about this shit. I guess maybe they don't care, and maybe Xbox have more up their sleeve to sell people on the box. But like, once that you can't get the toothpaste back in the tube, it's out there. Other games go to other platforms now. Yeah, good luck with IGN making a fucking article every 2 days that Xbox games go to PlayStation. Good luck dealing with that fallout,
Yeah.
because that will go to casuals and they'll see it and they'll be like, I'm not going to get the next Xbox because their games, even if they did stay, that's the thing, even if it was only like 10%, I fear that message would be too sticky and you wouldn't be able to get rid of it. That's the concern.
Yeah, it's the communication thing that's the issue. Yeah, I bet there's probably a large chunk of players that were on PlayStation, for example, and if this day ever happens and Hi-Fi Rush comes to PlayStation and they see it in their store, they're probably not even aware that game came out 2 years ago and was exclusive to Xbox. They're probably just gonna be like, this looks like a cool game. I'm gonna buy it. Like they're that casual that they don't even know it was previously an Xbox title and came over this way. So yeah, it's just it's so hard to communicate these things. Like, it's crazy. I mean, you can't even communicate like right now, like you were saying, with people not knowing what Games Pass is. If you're a casual gamer, like, you can't even communicate that, and it's like literally the biggest selling point of your console currently, and that's still hard to communicate to the casual gamer. Try communicating this. No, ain't gonna happen. It's like talking to a brick wall. It's just not gonna happen.
That's it. So, I mean, that's like kind of the game side of things. There's a lot of variation in what they could do in terms of bringing some things, bringing all of them. And they're not strangers to bringing third-party exclusives to other consoles. Like, they haven't done that for a while now. They haven't done third-party exclusives in the same way like PlayStation does with Final Fantasy, for example. Ori went to Switch. Cuphead went to Switch. So as Dusk Falls, obviously not a big, they go to other platforms. The first party stuff is the sticking point, and so there's a lot of stuff they can do in the middle to make it still work for customers, especially if because let's just remember, they've got so many more studios than like any other platform holder, like any other publisher. Like, they're heads and shoulders above in terms of what they own. So if their output is like 4 times more than everything else, maybe it's not really going to be a big deal. But there's lots of stuff they could do. It just depends how they communicate it and what they land on. The other wrinkle here, guys, I do wonder if they are gonna change Game Pass. Like, I do wonder if they're gonna stop doing day-and-date releases. It's in the back of my mind.
What do you mean? As in, like, stop that day one release thing going on?
Yep, we're at the point now where we can release our games just like PlayStation, and they're selling fine at 70 quid, and then they just copy PlayStation's structure. But it's like, people buy our games up front for full price, and then we'll put it in the service down the road for a double dip. I do wonder if that's coming as well.
That would be a big sad.
I'd probably buy a PC
if that
happened. I think that would be the turning point for me. So I'd buy a second one. Yeah, I think that would be a pretty big turning point for me, where I would just invest in a PC and just buy the games there, which perform better and I can play to a better standard. If I'm buying it anyway, Games Pass isn't releasing these things day one anymore.
Interesting. And that's a really interesting reaction from the two of you, because that was far more visceral than when we were talking about the games. You're like, there was some leeway on the games, but Game Pass going, nah, day and date, that's a big thing. And that's really interesting of how effective that's been. I do. I think it's brilliant.
Don't buy games anymore.
Nope. And it's not just been brilliant from a value saving perspective, but it's been a really good discoverability tool for me. Like, I've played so many games I just wouldn't have played because they come, even big games like Dead Space. I don't think I would have ever bought that. And Mass Effect, I never played back in the day. The remaster, there's so many. Yeah, it's been awesome. But yes, it would. Like, yeah, it would be a big deal if they did that. Again, like, I do wonder, do casuals even know? Casuals don't know what first party is. They've had more than one party. They're like 12 years old. They've had at least 12.
Nice.
They don't know what that means when we say first party games go day and date. They just check 2 weeks after launch. Oh, Starfield, what's that? That looks kind of cool. Makers of Elder Scrolls. Yeah, okay. They don't know. I do wonder if it's just like, we really benefit off it because we're in the weeds. But I do wonder, like, is the payoff good enough?
No.
That's the tricky little codger. And there's variations within that. Like, maybe they just make day and date Game Pass Ultimate thing, or maybe they make Game Pass Ultimate Gold or something, slightly more expensive, everything day and date. For everything else, it gets staggered out down to the cheapest version of the subscription.
I saw a rumor in regards to advertising Games Pass, as in like putting advertisement on Games Pass. I don't know if you've got.
Yeah, that's been talked about for a while, actually. Yeah.
What you mean is in like literally advertising. So like if you clicked on a game on Games Pass, you have to watch a minute of ads before you get to play it.
Or I don't know how I don't know how, but there was rumors of implementing some type of advertisement within the Games Pass. The same way they're doing it with like Amazon and stuff like that.
Because Amazon have done that recently. I remember I was watching something on it and I was like, Amazon never used to give you fucking ads. I was like, what's going on here? I was like, I pay for this, but like they're advertising only their stuff. They're not advertising third party things. But still, I think it's a little bit cheeky that you pay for a service and they still throw ads at you. But yeah.
Oh, don't get me started. I've had problems like that with a couple of things these days. Like I bought a one of the Ring, the Amazon Ring doorbells.
Yeah.
I got one of them and we got it all set up and I was like, okay, great, this is working cool. I can go back on the timeline and see like who visited my house at what time and everything. And this whole time I had it, it was like, oh, your trial is going to run out in 30 days. And I was like, whatever, this is just some extra shit I don't need. Anyway, it expires. And on this one day, I tried to scrub back through the timeline and it's like, sorry, you got to pay a subscription for that.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you mean it's built into the fucking it's a camera. It's a camera. Show me what the camera saw. Why do I need to pay you a subscription? Why have you cut off features to make me pay for it? So fucking frustrating.
It's because
so annoyed.
Yeah, they store it. Yeah. They store it like temporarily in like a cloud, which obviously you pay to have access to those recordings. Yeah, it's a bit stupid. Yeah, I mean, to be fair,
store it locally then.
What, like a little memory card on the fucking thing?
Yeah, like fuck you.
But then you'd have to go through and manually delete shit, and your storage would always be full. So then you'd be yelling at that. So
just auto delete it after a week. Like there was so many easy solutions to these billionaires for this thing, but it's not. It's just like fucking give us a subscription.
Charge you 20 quid a year or whatever it is. It's like 20 quid a year. It's very minuscule, but yeah, it forces your hand to do it, doesn't it? Yeah, it's a bit shit. Yeah, I got robbed last night, but I didn't have the subscription, so I don't know who the fuck. I can't help you.
Yeah, and I just wonder if I then paid for it. If I paid for it, would it then like unlock the recordings? Like, is it there?
No, I don't think so. I just don't think it even bothers to push it up to the cloud unless you've got the subscription active. Actually, to be fair, I don't know. I'm just imagining. But yeah.
So annoying. Okay, where were we? Game Pass, yeah, that's right. So, I could see a change there as well. I'm not sure. I'm trying to decide where I want to take this next. Okay, yeah, we'll go to this. So ultimately, it's a game of pros and cons. We know Xbox is not just a console manufacturer anymore. That's been the case. Like you said, Tim, they've accepted we ain't winning this race. We're going to go to more places and we'll make more money that way and we'll have more success that way. Fine. I'm okay with that. I'm perfectly okay with that. I'm actually happy with that. Like, if you want to make more devices that I can access my games with, cool, yeah, all means, no problem. So it becomes a kind of, it's a pro and con exercise, isn't it? It's not as simple as me being. I think you guys might have got caught wind of this. Like, a lot of people have been trying to like downplay, I think, some of the annoyance that the Xbox community is feeling over this. Of like, oh, other games are going to other platforms. And I think most reasonable adults aren't annoyed that other people get to play their games. I don't think that's really what this is. It's the fear of the library going away, but also like, what incentive is there for me to continue buying this platform that I either have history with or my things are with, et cetera, et cetera. And I just wonder, because we've spoken about it so far as like a cons thing, they're going to do this update and they're going to say we're losing all of this. But I do wonder, like, if they're doing a business update, maybe this is what they need. Maybe actually, we've been talking about this gray area between is Xbox going third party for like 5 years now. Maybe they just need to come out and commit to a fucking strategy and make it crystal clear to all of us what that strategy is. And maybe that comes with some benefits. Who knows what that is? Whether it is some innovative hardware, again, maybe it is this barrage of games. This year looks pretty good, but maybe next year looks even better. Who knows? Maybe there's some other stuff they're doing with the controller, maybe peripherals. I don't know, but it does make me curious. Like, what's the pro and con analysis that Xbox are going to give to us? Like, they can't just turn up and be like, games aren't day one anymore, Game Pass is more expensive by £2, and also all games are going multiplayer. You can't do that. The brand would sink immediately.
That's why I'm excited, because you can't. The first thing I said was they're not that stupid. There has to be a pull somewhere. So if they have to do that stupid side of it ish, then there has to be another big thing on the side to be like, well, there's this that's happening as well.
Yeah.
So
they can't. No, 100%. I was literally gonna actually call back to when Caden said yes. Like, as much as it is a scary time, it's also quite an exciting time. Like, I do agree with that. Like, I do think there's going to be a shift that could be quite a spooky one, but it also could, there's no doubt in my mind they've thought about this, and they're gonna make it positive in some way for your current console holders, your current home console enthusiasts, or whatever. They're not just going to alienate that entire fucking section of their user base. Like Dex said, it's just suicide. They can't do that. So yeah, there is an element of being excited, and I agree that there is an element of just rip the band-aid off and just tell us what your company wants to be. That Dex said, like, there might actually just be some just some closure on that a little bit for all of your everyone trying to subscribe into your brand.
Well, every week Dex complains about not actually knowing what Xbox wants. So I think this is like,
can shut him up.
What do you want? Ryan Gosling.
This is it. Yeah, perfect time.
No, I agree. Yeah.
So I mean, it's I'm with you. If this is what we needed to get to a point where the message is more coherent, so be it. If that message is that the console is going to be a little bit devalued in the long run, that's okay. It just depends how it's handled. It depends how it's messaged, and it depends what the vision is. We've been saying for a while now that Xbox has been saying for a while now. Particularly Phil has said, we lost the console war when we don't just want to try and be the green version of the blue box anymore. That's just not a good strategy for us.
So we're going red.
So they're going to do their own thing.
Our brand color is now red. Imagine if that was the announcement.
Nobody else has red, so we're gonna be red.
God. Are you ready?
Yeah.
That's their new slogan. Xbox, are you ready? Yes.
And I'll leave you today with announcement of a new platformer about a Norwegian carpenter who goes, "Wahee!"
Yeah, it's great.
Olaf.
Olaf. Nice.
Olaf Molly.
Yeah. So maybe, and it makes me think that there must be some pull here. There must be some reason they're going to want people to continue investing in console, even if it's not their main focus. So I think we're right on the precipice, and I'm okay with Xbox going off to do their own thing. It's frankly annoying that Xbox can't do anything without getting mainstream comparisons to PlayStation. It's irritating. Every month I see it. Xbox sales are worse than PlayStation. It's like, this is fucking pointless analogy, because they put games in different places. Like, it's not. They haven't been able to escape that for ages. So it's become a bit of an identity crisis. And hopefully this kind of clears that up. So fingers crossed. Hopefully we don't come out of it with a bullet in our head like we said we would last week.
Suicide Squad.
Suicide
Squad. Do we know?
Some of it seems like it's happening.
Do we know if there's a date for Phil Spencer dropping the A-bomb next week, or is it just gonna happen?
I say tomorrow.
Live stream into our brains like Skynet.
I think tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe
tomorrow.
It's like an emergency broadcast on your Xbox.
Yeah, it comes out with like the
emergency
whole
broadcast.
Phil Spencer just sitting on it. He just swivels around on a chair.
Yeah.
Hi guys. I have some terrible news.
Yeah.
An apology video.
Yeah, you should watch a video. Yeah, and that's the thing. What if he steps down? Like, that's been on the tips of people's tongues for a while. Like, what it feels like, I've seen my vision through. This is the pivot now. You know, I'm going to be leaving halfway through the year.
Shit show. Peace.
Yeah, good fucking luck. Yeah.
Oh God. What a time to hand it over.
So the final part of all of this really is the fallout. You know, if Xbox really is putting more games on a multi-platform basis, or more going about it in a more multi-platform way, that was fucking hard. Jesus. What's the fallout of that and the consequence of that on the industry? You know, do we think comes a day where whoever takes over PlayStation next, you know, once Jim Ryan is fully gone, it, you know, says, you know what, we can recoup some costs by putting some of our older games on other platforms. Again, you're probably not seeing your God of Wars, you're probably not seeing your Horizons, but maybe your Helldivers, you know.
Yeah,
on
maybe
on
maybe
Xbox.
a Death
on all
Stranding.
platforms. Yeah,
The
a
Xbox
couple of
might
years
not
down the
exist
line,
then,
maybe
yeah,
a Death Stranding.
Yeah.
Say that again.
to me. No, I say the Xbox might not exist for it to cross.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think there is going to be an element of. I think everyone will be very interested. I think everyone is, aside from just users. I think like companies are going to be watching Xbox and Microsoft and how this goes. Like whatever their business strategy is moving forward. I think they're going to be watching with a pretty close eye. And if it turns out well and they can see the benefits of it, I wouldn't be surprised if other companies pivot in a similar direction. You know, at the end of the day, as you put it, Deck, everyone wants to see that fucking line go up. If it ain't going up, they're willing to take drastic measures. So, you know, who knows? And yeah, I think people will be watching this quite closely and being like, there is benefit to this. Like, maybe we should start to look to do this in a couple of years. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Or if it crashes and burns, they'll point and laugh. Either way, they're on the sidelines watching. Yeah.
And you know, I think it's perfectly fair to say that for as much shit as Xbox has gotten over the last decade, really, they have kept everyone else on their toes. Like, they pushed the whole DRM reversal and the Kinect reversal. That pushed PlayStation to take out their iCamera with the bundle to get the £100, the price cap. So they didn't bundle it in to get that, and it worked. And that was what the consumers wanted at the end of the day. You know, they pushed for backwards compatibility. PlayStation got pushed for that. They pushed value-based subscriptions. PlayStation and Nintendo did for that. And actually, Nintendo started going about the same thing with backwards compatibility as well. They're just a bit hit and miss with that as a feature. And obviously, you know, Xbox Live, that came in the early days. Peripherals, like accessibility peripherals, elite controllers. There is a bit of a trend here, you know, customization in the controllers and the consoles. There is a bit of a trend here. Xbox, for better or worse, due to like our trendsetters in a lot of ways.
They innovate first.
Doesn't always work.
Yeah,
it doesn't always work, but they do try, and oftentimes that keeps the other two on their toes. And I do wonder, you know, if they pull this off, and we're all still talking about Xbox in a positive way in 5 years' time, and other games are going multi-platform from Nintendo and PlayStation, you've done it. You fucking broke the exclusivity, you know, curse that's just getting worse and worse as the years go on.
Phil Spencer will be hailed as the new Jesus.
It might not go that far.
I don't know,
but
man.
Certainly
they'll pin him up on a cross.
Should we write it? Should we write the Bible?
On an X.
On an X.
On an X, yeah, that's it.
Oh god, that looks
right.
I feel like that would be a lot more violent than a cross. Just bend his limbs in some pretty serious ways.
I'll carry you, Phil. I'll carry your X crucifix on my back.
Yeah. And they pin him up. They pin him up in a weird way as well. They do like the left leg to the top left and the left arm to the bottom left. They don't just
you like roll him.
Yeah.
They're like rolling him down. Yeah.
Never let them know your next move.
So it's going to be a weird one because certainly, you know, Phil's legacy has been mostly good. Certainly in the as he took over the Xbox One, it looked really positive. But like, if the update this week, really, the problem is if it really alienates the console audience, like that legacy is going to be really tarnished. Because, like I said, they could pull out of console in the next 3 years and they would still making really good revenue because they've got so many studios to make so many games and to still put it into a lot of places. They will still make good money from that and they'll be successful, I think. But I think they probably do run a risk of alienating their core audience, which is obviously their console audience. And that's going to be the loudest bunch. So if you piss off your core audience, you don't stand a chance. But at least if the core audience is happy, you can go from there. So it's really interesting times, not just for, we've spoken a lot about Xbox in the last hour, but it's interesting times for the industry. It'll be really interesting to see how people respond because there's different schools of thought. Do it, don't do it, go somewhere in the middle. It changes strategy entirely. So it's really up in the air. And like I said at the beginning of all of this, people started leaking / rumoring insider information that all of these games were being considered for multi-platform launches: Indiana Jones, Starfield, Gears of War, Halo. But none of it's confirmed. And some people have started walking it back now. It's just we don't know. The Hi-Fi Rush thing seems to be real because of the data leak, the data mining we saw with the shirt stuff, but still, whatever. All right. It's big. I wonder if we'll be back next week,
Nah. I don't think so.
Probably won't be much news next week, I imagine.
You don't think,
No.
A bit of a slow news
week, yeah.
I'm so interested to see the media reaction to all of it. I really am. Because it's been fascinating watching other outlets who typically, you can tell that they talk about Xbox through gritted teeth. It serves them better if the Xbox console dies, because then all their games just go everywhere. So it'd be interesting to see if they celebrate, Xbox finally makes their first right decision in a decade by putting their games on my platform of choice.
Yeah. Trashing their garbage console. Yeah.
So I'm fascinated to see how this all goes down, but be really interesting. All right, I've covered all the points I wanted to cover on my little notepad here. I think we've covered everything on the notes page, haven't we? Yeah. Any closing thoughts, guys, before we wrap up? Oh, I'm sorry.
Just a waiting game now.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say, do you think there'll be do you think they'll mention anything about new hardware next week? Do you think they'll tease it and just be like, there is stuff in the works?
I do.
You think? Yeah. Like they won't name drop anything or tell you what it is or have Phil Spencer
maybe a project
live on stage. But imagine that the curtain just pulls open, he's just playing his Xbox Switch.
Yeah. Oh hi. Didn't see you there.
I was too busy encapsulated with my game that I can take on the go anywhere.
It sounds like, from what Phil tweeted earlier, it kind of sounded like they were going to do an announcement soon anyway, regardless of this leak, right? That's kind of my understanding.
Yeah, but they might have pushed it forward because they saw everything was just so chaotic, and they were like, we need to address this now, otherwise our studio will get fucking bombed. Yeah, I do think they were probably planning on something, but I doubt they were planning on doing it next week. They were probably planning on doing it in a few weeks or a month or something, and then shit just got out of hand. Then he was like, Jesus Christ, we need to do something.
And it did get out of hand.
It really
Xbox
did.
was constantly trending, and I don't know if you guys don't follow it closely, but there's a number of community members who are pillars of the Xbox community, and a couple of them have changed their bio so it doesn't say Xbox fan anymore. They're like, I'm no longer an Xbox fan. They held a Twitter space renouncing their love for the platform. It really it really got out of hand.
So weird to me that people do that when nothing official has been announced, and they're just so quick to give up any of their beliefs or any of their their hobbies or whatever, associations they've had for years. They're willing to just toss that away without any hard proof. It's pretty weird to me. I've never understood that.
Yeah, it's a bit, isn't it?
So wait for the facts at least before you do something that fucking drastic.
Yeah, definitely. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to wait for the facts. And
I'm going to watch the stream
next week
with my on my top floor I'm gonna have my window open and I'm gonna be holding my Xbox out the window. And if they say anything that ticks me off, I'm just gonna drop it. I'm just gonna let go.
Don't make me, Phil.
Just live stream it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put fireworks in the holes at the top. Upside down.
Like sparklers.
No, full explosives.
That's not a firework. Well, you consider a full explosive
What's the difference?
Yeah. Yeah, I went to work with some fireworks the other day, and everyone was like having a big fucking deal about it. Just a bit of C4. It's a firework. I don't see the problem.
I put the fire to work. It's a firework.
Jesus.
I pour gasoline over my car, set it on fire, boom, firework.
It's a firework. Yeah. I'm not going to buy these fucking branded things they want me to and create my own firework.
I'll just commit very serious acts of vandalism instead. That's way cheaper and less burdensome on me. I prefer that.
Good for you, man.
Thank you. Yep. So it'll be noisy this week. We'll come back next week to talk about it all. Fingers crossed that we all make it through. Will we survive? We'll hold hands, hug your nearest Xbox fan. It's a hard time for us. We really need love and support that you can give us.
We do.
And then buy them a PC because Xbox dead.
Yeah. We should create our own community fucking action where we all just get a massive pot. Everyone just puts it in, millions of people, and we can all buy each other PCs. Make a really wholesome worldwide event.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Yeah?
No, that sounds really practical.
Sounds like you got a problem with it, Caden.
Well, I'm not chipping in.
You little shit.
Oh, he got
sitting there with your fucking
PC. I got mine.
You're not going to help anyone else, you son of a bitch.
No one helped me, did they?
No.
I bet they did. Yeah. I bet you went on YouTube for hours.
Yeah, what about the person who built your PC? They helped you.
I paid him to it.
It's so aggressive. I paid the slave to do it.
Exactly.
Right. It's getting out of hand now. Let's end this before we say anything dodgy. Cream frige.
Cream frige. Cream frige.
I forgot that was a thing.
It's a good one.
It's great.
Yeah, put it there. I tried to get Caden's Suicide Squad from last week, but I didn't have time.
That would have been good. Suicide Squad. Right.
All right, let's wrap this up. Thanks everyone. If you've hung around or if you're listening after the fact, I hope that you found at least some margin of agreement with our analysis of this week's events. It's pretty rough. It's divided. Its community is divided. You can't agree with anyone. It's rough. Unite us once more, Phil. Take us to the promised land of Blade being exclusive to Xbox.
I forgot about Blade. That was the other one I was thinking of. Yeah, I was thinking when I was like Indiana Jones,
is it?
Hellblade, and there was something. I even said Hellblade. I didn't fucking think of Blade.
There.
God's sake, that was it. God, that was in the back of my head for fucking the last hour. Blade.
Sorry.
Fuck's sake.
We got it there in the end.
Yeah. Great. All right.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah, bye, everyone. Have a good Sunday.
Bye.
Take care.